Hi, Eric Parnell, Chief Market Strategist from Great Valley Advisor Group, and today you're joining me for the Halloween edition of Market Insights. There are three things that scare me about capital markets between now and the end of the year. But before I delve into those, I want to talk to you about the things that don't scare me. The first has to do with dysfunction in Washington. Yes, they're having trouble getting things done down there, but there's nothing more than capital markets like than people in Washington not doing anything to disrupt the flow of markets. The second thing that doesn't worry me is the threat of recession. Now, this was a big goblin back in 2022 and the hobgoblin of stagflation. But the good news is, as we go through the remainder of 2023, is that the economy continues to look strong. So what are the three things that scare me as we head through the remainder of the year and into 2024? The first is the Fed's incredibly shrinking balance sheet. Now, for years since the financial crisis, US stocks in particular just rose to the sky on the strength of the Fed continuously increasing their balance sheet. But since 2022, they've been shrinking their balance sheet, and they've been doing so at an accelerating rate. It would be interesting to see as we go through the remainder of the year and into 2024 whether that balance sheet shrinkage continues to weigh on the US stock market. The good news is that capital markets are still getting a lot of support on the fiscal policy side. And you find me a politician in Washington that wants to raise taxes, I'll find a kid that likes to get a toothbrush for going out for Halloween. The second thing that scares me about capital markets as we go through the remainder of the year is China. We see the weight that China has placed on the US Treasury market going all the way back to the end of 2021. Now, the US stock market has broken out above the Chinese stock market since early 2023. Do we see a situation where the US stocks fall back to the Chinese stock market? It only remains to be seen. But the good news is that outside of those big US stocks, most other stocks have been tracking with the Chinese stock market, so a lot of that downside may already be into the market. The third thing that scares me about capital markets is the ghost of inflation's past. We still hear those stories about the 1970s where we had these continued rises in inflation and ultimately led to that stagflationary period of the late 1970s. Inflation continues to come down as we go through the remainder of 2023, but we'll want to continue to watch for that ghost rising from its grave and inflation coming back anew as we go into 2024. So these are some of the things to watch as we continue through the remainder of 2023. And I'll give you one more, because just like every horror movie, that monster rises one more time before we finally put it away. We've heard so much about how valuations are attractive in the US stock market, but I still remember that period before the great financial crisis back in 2006 and 2007 when I was saying the same exact thing about valuations. The good news is that although valuations are cheap, just like they were prior to the financial crisis, the US economy and its banking system is in a much stronger footing today than it was back then. Thanks for joining me for this Halloween edition of Market Insights, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.